Hey there guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about my language learning routine because as I mentioned in my previous update video, which if you haven't seen it, go check that out, that I have a new son. I have a child, and so he's 8 weeks this week, and so I thought it'd be really interesting to have a look at my language learning routine now that I have a baby, how I'm studying, what's changed from my previous routine, and maybe my plans moving forward. Because I know everyone has their own routine and own methods, and I just thought it'd be interesting to share mine so you can maybe get some inspiration or things you want to do or things that you don't want to do. So, let's get into it. So talking about this then, let's have a look at my previous routine. So what I used to do a lot was very intense, what I would call like active, efficient study. So basically I would do stuff like watching videos and transcribing the words, searching for the vocabulary, reading the scripts while I'm listening and doing lots of intense listening activities, watching TV series and making detailed notes of new vocabulary and new phrases, and then also having my language lessons. Primarily all of this would be in Japanese. That was the main language I was focusing on. And I would have lessons where I would go through grammar exercises and do homework. And then I also have a number of textbooks and bilingual books that I would read and translate and make my own sentences and lots of this sort of stuff. So I don't tend to use a lot of resources in terms of like grammar exercises and stuff like that. I would tend to find content that I enjoy. So TV, films, videos, maybe stories, and then I would use those and sort of dive into them and work them out and decipher them and find new stuff, because that's really what worked for me. And it does take a lot of time, it does take a lot of energy, but I always preferred that because I felt it was more effective for me. I remembered stuff more easily. So that was basically what I did because I had loads of free time. So I could fit in lessons really easily every week. I would have maybe 1 or 2 Japanese lessons a week. And then I would also have lots of time in the evenings and the weekends to do that, to spend a couple of hours doing that stuff. So, taking one 5-minute video and spending 3 or 4 hours really digging into it and doing lots of different things to practice it. Now though, it's not quite the same. I guess anyone, if you've had kids, you probably know when I talk about the sleep deprivation, you'll really understand what I'm talking about. The first couple of weeks where I literally had probably about 2 hours sleep a day was just really terrible, really hard. And now I'm getting sort of 5 or 6 hours broken sleep a day, and I feel really energized, and everyone looks at me crazy when I'm like, oh, I feel really good, I've had 5 hours sleep today. So really that's thrown all of my language learning routine out. And I did have a bit of a plan for when my son arrived, and yeah, that's all kind of gone out the window. The main reason is because I just don't have the time to do the normal sort of study that I would do. I don't have a couple of hours every day where I can sit down on the computer with no distractions and do all of the activities which I find the most effective for me. And so what I noticed in the first couple of weeks was really Italian was the only language I could actually do anything with, because it's at a high enough level that I was able to watch TV and read stories and just do the stuff that I normally do in that language. It's because I generally watch lots of videos on YouTube and TV and read stories in Italian all the time anyway, not just for studying, but just because that's what I do. And like my Nintendo Switch is also in Italian because so all the games I play are also in Italian, not specifically for any reason, just because it's kind of a little bit more productive than playing in English in my mind. And those ones I was able to do. I was able to just stick a film on while I was looking after my son, or while I was kind of half dead after having a couple of hours sleep, and I could just watch something. I didn't do any of the more intense activities. I didn't make any notes of vocabulary or anything like that, but I was able to do something. Whereas my other languages, which would be Japanese and Spanish, they're not at a level where I can do that. They always, even just watching TV with Spanish, for example, with subtitles, I can kind of get the gist of most stuff, but it just required that much energy. I just couldn't do it. I just didn't have the sleep or the mental capacity or anything to be able to do that. And Japanese, I'm not at a level where I can watch stuff. So I couldn't just stick an anime on with some subtitles and just kind of pick stuff up along the way, because it would just be useless. It wouldn't really do anything for me. So I had to find a new approach, and I basically tried to, what I've kind of started calling like the zero energy approach. So whereas before I would prepare a load of videos I wanted to do lots of intense activities with and stories to read and stuff, I wanted to find something where I don't have to do any planning, no preparation. I can pick it up, do a little bit, put it down, and that's it. No pressure, nothing like that. So really the best option seemed to be apps. So my phone's always full of language apps. Whenever I see an advert or anything for a new one, I always download it, even if I'm not studying that language. And so I went back through all the ones that I'd had, just really to focus mainly on Japanese, but I ended up sticking to two main ones. So I'm using Lyrics Training and Closemaster. If you haven't seen them before, Lyrics Training is like language learning karaoke. You pick a song, pick your level, they remove some words, you listen, and then you put the missing word in. Pretty simple, and they've got loads of languages available. I've used it for basically every language I've learned, and it's just something fun. I like listening to music in the languages I'm learning, so something easy, no energy, and it doesn't really matter if I don't understand what they're saying. I just put the word in and then carry on. And then I decided that I would just try and pick up some vocabulary, because it's not something I'd usually focus on, and learning new words is always going to be useful, I think, in any language. So I thought I might as well. And I ended up sticking to Closemaster, which is basically a sentence, removes a word, you put the missing word in, you get a little notification with some points, and then you can review them and all the usual kind of app stuff with streaks and all that kind of stuff. So that worked really well. And I've used Closemaster loads and I really enjoy that app. And I'm going to be, I'll talk about that in a future video. And I did try Duolingo, for anyone who's going to maybe comment and say, oh, use Duolingo. I did. I just can't really get into it. It's at the moment, I think it's the sentences being so obscure, and kind of everyone jokes about the lots of the sentences not really making any sense. To me, that just feels like a waste of time, and that's just frustrating. Whereas Closemaster, I guess, on the other hand, they're all real proper sentences. So although with Japanese a lot of the sentences are very complicated and they have the formality isn't so clear to me, I can focus on the element that I'm learning and notice the other things around it. I don't need to know every single part of the sentence, but I know they are real sentences and they're how people actually speak. And that for me is more important than being able to sort of do the Duolingo sort of building blocks and moving words around in an order or whatever. But that basically is how I started. So I started doing Japanese again, and then I decided with this sort of zero energy approach, I needed to just sort of have fun with it. So I wasn't really worried about making progress anymore. And so I decided to just basically start using Closemaster with all of the languages that I've ever learned. So not just Japanese, that was my focus, Italian and Spanish that I was maintaining, but I also added in French and German, which I haven't studied for years. And now basically every day I'm just doing a little bit of each language. So, mainly doing predominantly more in Japanese when I have more time or more energy, sleep, I guess. But just a little bit, and it's kind of, I'm not really studying it. It doesn't really tell you anything about the grammar. I'm kind of just guessing. If I don't know what the phrase means, or I don't know what the word is, like if I don't remember how to say to have in French, I just press, I don't know. It shows me and I go, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then it refreshes my memory. So I'm not taking it too seriously, which I think actually I'm really enjoying at the moment. And that's basically kind of where I am. I don't have any time for actually studying because, a lot of the time my brain's so fried after I sort of get all of my work done and then do everything else. I just don't have any sort of mental capacity left. But thinking about the future, I would like to, now that I'm getting a regular amount of sleep and I'm starting to feel a little bit more human again, I would like to kind of get back into the routine of adding in some of those more intense activities. I think sitting in an evening and doing like 2 hours of like activities, detailed activities, is probably not going to happen, but I would like to start my lessons again. That I think would be a really good thing to get me speaking as well. So like italki for Japanese, baseline lessons for Spanish, and then some Italian ones in there. French and German, I'm not really planning on having lessons at the moment because I'm not kind of seriously doing anything with them. I'm kind of just doing them for a bit of fun at the minute. If I get to the point where I'm starting to really sort of put things together and I want to actually start taking them up to that, trying to get to a more intermediate level, then I'll probably start booking some lessons or at least conversation exchanges or something like that to do that. But really at the minute, they're kind of just there for fun. And if I end up giving up on those, I'm not too worried. Whereas the main three, the Triforce, Italian, Spanish and Japanese, at the moment I want to focus on those. I want to bring Spanish up a lot more so I can start watching TV. Italian I want to continue to reinforce and just watch loads of content and just keep that going. And then Japanese, I really need to keep working on that and building on that to start getting to closer to an intermediate level or even upper beginner. Yeah, that's really kind of my plan moving forward. But I think it's really interesting, or I found it really interesting, how much my routine has changed and how my kind of whole thought process related to my language learning has gone from sort of really about doing something that's very intense and very effective and efficient and trying to really focus lots on like my listening technique and all the technicalities. And now actually I'm like, well, you know, if I don't pronounce this word perfectly, it doesn't really matter. I'm just doing it for fun and just sort of picking out a few words that I'm noticing along the way. So it's a little bit more relaxed, and I'm hoping, I imagine, as life is going to continue to change endlessly now forever, this routine probably won't stay the same. But I just thought it might be a nice insight into kind of my current world of, you know, newborn language learning for anyone who hasn't had kids. And if you have, I'm sure you probably, you know this feeling all too well. So I hope you found that interesting, and I would love to hear about your language learning routines. So the activities that you do, the apps you use, how often you study, that kind of thing. You know, it's really inspiring for me to hear how you guys are doing it, and I think we can all give each other some ideas, which is why I decided to record this video. So I hope you found it interesting, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See you later.